Hi guys and girls, welcome back to my channel. I do hope you're doing well. We are sitting down for a very heated topic that I've had quite a lot of responses on, guys. We are talking about, I don't quite know how I'm going to word this one yet. It started off like women in construction, then it turned to like women in male dominant careers, sexism in the workplace. So I don't quite know what I'm going to call it just yet. But this month's Sit Down with Shan is all about women in industries that are predominantly male orientated, male dominated, how we find it as women. Women find it as women. And as me as a woman, I can say I've worked in a few male dominated industries, hospitality, all of your chefs are mainly guys, retail, predominant salespeople are men, construction is predominantly men. So I feel like I've had my fair share of time to analyse how men perhaps work with women or feel that a woman's place is in certain industries. And from what I can see on what you guys have sent in, there's a lot of you who have been in the same boat as well. So I thought, you know what, why not? And just so it's not all doom and gloom for women, I've got the flowers in today. If you see, when was it, my Instagram post, you'll know Dan went out one day this week, just went out on his normal bike ride, started to get back into the bike. Even though it's coming into autumn, he's back out on his bike, so he goes for a little evening ride. And he come back one evening, I thought, he looks a bit, he's more puffier than when he left me. And he unzipped it and he had a bag of flaming hot Doritos, you know your girl loves her snacks, and he had a bunch of roses for me. So I was like, that was very he's lovely. He's absolutely lovely. But yes, I thought, why don't, it's not all going to be doom and gloom for women. We're going to have a little bit of appreciation. And you know, in most videos, if we're going to be home now, when are the next few videos going up? There's quite a lot coming up over bank holidays, so make sure you've got your bell turned on. But if I'm home filming, these will definitely be in the background somewhere because they're just too gorgeous not to have in. Right, Shan, let's stop yakking and get in with this month's Sit Down with Shan. So, if you guys want to get involved in these types of videos, I ask over on my Instagram and I also ask over on the email. My email's always down below there, guys. You can always just drop me an email, and then what I do is when I have Sit Down with Shans, mukbangs, Q&As, anything like that, I just do a big blind CC of an email, and if you want to get involved, you can do it. If you don't, just say to me, Shan, opt out. I'll take you out of it, my lovelies. So, let me have a look. Where are we? I did screenshot all of these. So where are you? Here we are. Right. I just want to make sure I've got everything on here. Yes. So, the first one I'm going to start with. I worked in a private boarding school, and although a lot of women worked there, it was weirdly controlled, weirdly completely overpowered by male control. The headmaster was male, perhaps that was why, who knows. Women were definitely seen as inferior, and it was like being dragged back to the past. Now, I would think boarding schools, education is more women. A majority of my teachers growing up were all women. It was only really the men who you would deal with for sports side, kind of. But it just goes to show, you never do know. Maybe, as you say, because the man was the headmaster and seen as inferior, being dragged back to the past. I can kind of understand that because I can feel it could be very, almost like, what's the word? Not detrimental, but someone would try and be like condescending to a woman. Like, would a man think that their education far surpasses a woman's? When education is education. Like, I don't think it matters if you go private school, state school, homeschooled. If the child wants to learn, the child will pick up and learn to the best of their abilities. If the child doesn't want to learn, they won't learn. For example, I went to a normal state school and I had people in my family who went to private boarding schools, and for me, they wasted their education. I loved school so much as a kid and I wanted to do well, and I threw myself into school. And if I'd have had the option of a private school, oh my goodness, who knows where I could have been. I mean, I could be doing this, but on a grand scale. I could be on a lot of bigger platform. I could be doing daily vlogs for you guys. I can't do that. I'm just a skate school. I'm just a state school girl. Whereas some members of my family went to private boarding schools and had thousands and thousands put into their education. and they left school and didn't want to do anything and not use their education to the best of its ability. So I don't think it matters what type of education you have. It's if you want to learn, you will throw yourself and adapt as you can. Although I've also worked in Halfords when I was a 20-year-old, and it was all males other than me and one other girl. It's like car mechanics, ain't it? That's very, very male dominated. But I love it when I go and I see a woman fitter, because I'm like, hi, can you help me please? I worked as a car parts fitter, fitted blades, the bulbs and car batteries. Check you out. And working here was so lovely. I felt like the little sister, and everyone was kind and protective of me, but in a non-patronising way. I always felt listened to and equal, and I think as a female in male-dominated place, this is how it should be. I completely get like the protective side of it. So when I was in the kitchen, it was very much the head chef was male, the assistant chef was male, and then you had like an assistant chef. She was female, and then I was like a sous chef with another couple of guys, but it was only me and the other lady in there. And it was, at the beginning, it was a bit like, oh, that was my first job. I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't know what I was throwing myself into, but it was almost like that family side. Like if one of us got hurt or we burnt ourselves or cut ourselves, like everyone was on hand to help. And if anyone, like say you got a grumpy customer or something they didn't feel was right, everyone would be there to like support each other. And if it was like, well, maybe do that next time, or actually no, you're in the right, that's not wrong, la la la. It was definitely like a unity. I don't feel like in construction it's kind of like that. Yet when mum was on site, mum felt like you did, like everyone was the protective brothers, because mum worked on site with dad and nan and granddad and all that. In construction, I've not had things. Construction has probably been the one where I felt people don't accept you as a woman. So say for example, before when I would deal with guys on site, they're lovely to you when they want something. Can I have this excavator please? Can I have some diesel? When it's breaking or there's something wrong and it's broken down and it's, I need this out, why can you not get it out? And you're just like, whoa, 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 whoa. Calm your horses right now. Even now, within the health and safety side, I will still have predominantly males on the phone, and it will not be uncommon for them to be like, your machine's out of date, I need to like, you need to send someone out. And I'll be like, as part of your user checklist, la la la. And I have had a few occasions where they're like, can you just put me to a man? And I'm like, I am the department and the sole person, so there's no one else you can talk to, I'm afraid. And sometimes they're okay, sometimes they're not, and sometimes you have to just stand your ground and be firm, and actually the onus is on the user of the machine. If something was to go wrong with that and they've ticked it off on their daily checklist, that's not liable to myself, the company, that's liable to yourself, the site manager, the user, and your health and safety advisors. So it can be a very bitchy industry, I think, because you will obviously get people who are set in their ways, and I think it's a very generational thing. You find, say, perhaps the younger generations, they don't care who they talk to. They're just like, if a machine's broken, can you get someone out to fix it? No worries. Sometimes I find answering the phone when calls are put through and they're like, oh, we'll put you through to the engineering department, and I answer. Sometimes they'll expect a man, and when I'm like, hello, they're like, oh, hello, darling, yeah, can you help me with this machine? Like that. Sometimes it can work in reverse, and sometimes people take it differently, and sometimes they may prefer talking to a woman. But I would say like 80-85% of the time you do get the men who are like, yeah, can you put me through to a man please? I'm like, go away. Like, no, it doesn't work like that. We're in the 21st century, guys, okay? But definitely within retail, I felt like the community, there was only me and two other women. I was the youngest. There was another lady there, she was in her 30s, and then another lady was in her 50s. So I was like the baby of the group. And there was about 6 or 7 guys that worked there. And that was very much a family orientated thing, very much like the kitchen. Like, you all had each other's back. No one was going to like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about because you're a bird. Like, no, it wasn't like that. So that's really nice. And go you. So if I ever need bulbs and blades fitted, I know where to come, my lovely. I'm actually hopeless at stuff. I do know how to fit window wipers. One of the men at work, they showed me, because as I say, with construction, there's a lot of industries and sections and transport and machinery. And one day I was like, I need to get my window wipers done. I'm not paying Halfords. It was actually, I wasn't paying them, I think it was £15 to fit. because the guys were saying to me, it's literally clip on, clip off. And I was like, right, I'm going to get them, come back. And one of them showed me. And now I can, I wouldn't say confidently. That's a little bit of a, that might be a bit too eager. But I can say that I know how to assist and potentially put on window wipers. Anything with bulbs and electrics though, I'm like, no, that's what my own breakdown's for. Let's have a look. Oh, my sister-in-law is a plasterer and she's probably better than all the guys she works with. I love that. I absolutely love that, because the industries that people are so fixated on being male dominated, probably normally like labouring jobs, as you say, plastering, mechanics, painting and decorator, boilers like British Gas. We had a British Gas inspection the other day and Mum was like, it was a lady that turned up. And I was like, good, like this is what we need in this day and age. Like female power, we're all good. We can do just as much as a man can do, and men can do women's jobs too. I don't think it's just all, well, women are being praised for working in male industries. I think men should also be praised for working in women industries. It's a fair equal game. It's a fair equal game, but love that. I mean, I don't think I need any plastering done in the house, but it is very handy to know, because I'm all here for supporting women. And I've actually looked in, there is a female only construction company and they have pink diggers. Now, I'm not digging up my house. Don't worry, I'm not doing anything like that. But I said to Dan, if in the forever home we ever have to like dig anything up, I really want the pink diggers. He's like, of course you do. I have a normal one. Of course you want the pink one. I'm like, what? Just, you know, support him. See, this is the side that I think, not only do women sometimes get the verbal abuse where people just don't want to speak to a woman, this is the part that I don't think any woman should have to tolerate in her workplace. And it's actually very aggravating that this stuff still goes on, because I think of this as maybe like in the 70s or 80s, when you see films sometimes and you see people in office and the boss will give a cheeky slap of the bum. But that's not acceptable. It wasn't acceptable back then. It's definitely not acceptable now. But I feel like it's kind of generalised now, as if like, oh yeah, it's fine. One of my lovelies says, I was told to wear short pencil skirts and the girls on show, and used to have my arse slapped, told to make tea all the time, and I filed the complaint and ended up leaving the team. I would have done the same thing, but I don't think I wouldn't have made them tea. I probably would have poured the tea, or if a hand went to touch me, I would like, you might get a hand back on you. That I don't think is acceptable, and not just against women, against men as well. You don't need to touch me in my job, okay? Unless it's like a matter of life or death, or say like you're manual handling or lifting, or you're a surgeon, you need, but actual like inappropriate touching, I don't think needs to happen. And I don't feel like there's a line, even like within say professional dancing, there's a line to where your partner's hands and everything like that. So it definitely shouldn't be wandering in an office. And I'm glad you put the complaint, and I'm glad that you left, because you don't need that, my darling. No one needs that at all, because that for me, no, that's not right. That is not right, and it shouldn't be accepted, and you didn't accept that, which I think is great. Let's have a look. One of my lovelies says, when I did work, my workplace was mixed, so it was always working with both sexes and was treated the same. That's how hard is that, just to have a community, a group, your work team, mixed genders, mixed ethnicities, everything like that, everyone just getting on, everyone treated the same, no hierarchy, just equality across the board, because then everyone knows where they stand. There's no, well, he can do it and she can't, or she can do it and he can't, like, there's none of that. It's just, that's the rules across the board. Anyone who don't fall in line, you're getting in trouble. But unfortunately, I don't think that that is how it works nowadays, to be honest. I do feel there is a lot of hierarchy. I do feel there is, if you're cushy in a group, or if like you kind of just get on with your work and maybe like you're a yes person, I don't feel it's across the board fairness in a lot of industries. As I say, growing up, I used to see Dad would come back, and obviously Dad was in construction. You could tell if he had had a rubbish day on site, or if the site person wasn't someone who'd worked with normally, because it'd be like, not effing going back to that one. I'm like, oh, okay. Do you have a good day at work? Nah. And I think even in Dada's industry, so obviously Dada is a lab technician. So within construction, he tests asphalt, concrete, astroturf, all of stuff like that. And the chemical side of it before it gets laid, puts it to certain temperatures and tests the whatever he does. He's been doing it since he was 16. So he's very, very qualified within his job. However, when Dada was working and as he's grown up, it's kind of experience is what gets you through. Whereas nowadays, it's qualifications. And there's been many a times when Dada's come back and I'm like, oh, how's work? Or he'll be chatting to mum and he'll be like, some jumped up little git try telling me how to do my job. Just because he's got a graduate or something like that. There's a lot of like undergraduates coming in within his company. They're doing like a scheme at the moment. And it will be, oh, but you don't do that. And my dad would be like, I've been doing it like this for like 30 odd years. That's how it's done. And they're like, yeah, but if you do it like that. And I've said to Dada, why don't you go on these courses? Like, get the qualifications. And he's like, I'm too old. I'm like, I don't think you're ever too old for education. But he's got to where he is within his job through people you know and your name around sites and experience and that. Whereas now it's not like that. People can sometimes come out of college or university and go straight in and not have, say, like a day on the job. And it will just be everything from a textbook. And it doesn't always work like that. Like, Dada's had burns upon burns where sometimes it will spit out of the thing if it gets too hot. Or, like, it's not so simple. And especially when you're dealing with stuff that he does, like, within the temperatures and the chemicals. And it's very hazardous. Like, as I say, he does have a few scars and he has to wear, like, the full PPE. So if a book says, oh, it gets to 100 degrees and that's fine, and you have a substance that it's got to 100 degrees and it's starting spitting in your face, your textbook's not going to tell you how to deal with that. So, yeah, he's definitely, he's someone who in his industry is just like, no. I think he's like, if people know his name, they're like, oh, yeah, okay, because he's been around. He's been around for years from site to site, company to company. But yeah, he does get a little bit thingy when, not necessarily women, he doesn't have a problem with like men, women, anything. He gets a little bit annoyed when he gets the youngsters or the ones that are like actually educated in this. And he's like, well, I'm educated. But I'm like, no, they don't see it like that because you don't have the qualifications. So yeah, that's sometimes where he gets a little bit up. He gets a bit uptight. And I say to him, just calm down. You know what you're doing? Chill. One of my lovelies says, hey, lovely, I am a motorbike valeter. Our company sells bikes and I work with almost all males apart from the one woman in the office, and she's my daughter. My son is my boss and there are about 8 or 10 men. It is a fab team and it works really well. I much prefer working with men as there's so much less bitchiness about. No real story to tell, but I definitely prefer a male environment. Hope you're well and lots of love to Mama G and Dan. Thank you very much. And hey here, my lovely, a motorbike valeter. Your company sells bikes? I may have to slide into the DMs there because Dan is looking to go for his bigger boy bike. So Dan has his 125 and he's wanting to do his bigger one. And then next year it's on my bucket list before I'm 30 to get my 125. So I can be the little one behind like, doo-doo-doo-doo. Mum is absolutely having a fit. And I was like, hold on a minute. Mum used to ride on the back of a lot of bikes. A lot of her friends as well growing up, they was all bikers. So I'm like, I could be on the back of Dan's. And Mum's like, no, hold on. I'll be on the back of Dan's and you can be next door. So I'm like, oh, it works for you then if I ride my bike. That's fine. I remember that. But I love that. That is amazing. Your son is your boss. I love like little family run companies because I just think from family run to corporate and that you can tell the difference straight off. Corporate, unfortunately, they might have in most cases more investment, more money, but the respect and the treatment of the staff's not there. Whereas if it is a family run business, they actually would care about their employers normally and they would look after. And it's like little touches like that. So I would go family business any day over corporate. But we have to go where we have to go, don't we, my lovelies? But I love that. I love that. One of my lovelies says, hey Shannon, hope you're well and getting along okay with the house. We're slowly getting there, my lovely, slowly but surely. I'm not working at the moment, but I am taking a course in logistics and warehousing. You go, girl. What are your thoughts on a warehousing job, and would you say it's a man's job or not? I just wanted a woman's opinion, and I'm sorry if I've offended any men out there, especially Dan. I didn't ask to offend. You didn't offend at all. Dan would say a warehouse job, anyone can crack on in their warehouse. As long as you have patience, because in a warehouse you need patience. Sometimes things don't go to plan, and sometimes things might fly off shelves and stock and orders and everything like that. I would say logistics, fabulous side of it. Logistics is more like the planning. I don't know if it's like transport logistics or machinery logistics, anything like that. Warehousing though, I don't look at jobs and think man, woman. Like if I was looking for a new job, I wouldn't look at a job and think, oh, I couldn't go for that because that's a man's job. I just think a job's a job. And with warehousing, you probably will find it is more predominantly men, because mainly warehouse work could involve a lot of heavy lifting, but that doesn't limit you to. So if, say, as a woman, we are maybe pretty much majority of the time are weaker than men. I know there are some women out there that are badass and kick-ass and everything like that at all. But on a whole, sometimes, like, we can't lift the same as a guy. But that doesn't mean that you can't work a warehouse job. There are so many different elements: stock taking, accountability, transfer of stock. There's so much more to just maybe lift inside of the warehouse. So I would say definitely go for it. Definitely go for it. Give it a go. And you know what? You never know unless you try, my lovely. You never do know. One of my lovelies says, I worked with blokes a long time ago painting and decorating. Do you want to do any painting and decorating down in Suffolk? I need a little bit of help at the minute, guys. And honestly, I loved it. Blokes don't get on the way girls do. There's no bitching and no moaning. If a girl wants to work with blokes, then she should, because there's nothing a man can do that a woman can't. As when we put our mind to it, we can do anything. Shannon, it was tell your mummy my granny had 21 kids in a 2-bedroom house. Not 2 kids. I think she got the wrong end of the stick there, guys. She wishes. Tell Mama G to come over here when you move out, just for a few weeks, and we can go on the juice. I'll send her over. I will send her over. Do not worry about that, my lovely. I think that is the big thing. Likewise with the other lady. Getting on with guys is just easier. I don't know what it is. Even from school, I was much rather be with the guys, playing the football, kicking about, whatever, than sitting with the girls. There is a lot of bitchiness with females, I'm afraid. But it's not always the females. I think that males can have their own little fair share of bitchiness, to be perfectly honest. And yeah, it's just like, it's not always the women, I feel. But predominantly, I do get what you mean. Bitchy, moaning. And it's just, it's aggravation, I think. And that's why I say growing up, I was very much in a circle mainly with boys. And to be honest, in our group, the only girls that was in there was girlfriends of the boys. It was predominantly the boy group, and girlfriends, we just popped in and like we got on because it was, you kind of had the same mentality of what you would be. Like there's no trying to get one over each other and trying to step one up. Like there's nothing like that. And I don't think there should be stuff like that, but unfortunately I think sometimes it is. Sometimes it can be quite catty, and yeah, I just don't have time or energy for that. You just want to go in, do your job, be done. Just be done. But I love that painting and decorating, as I say. Your girl could always have a little hand out. I'm just going to quickly change the battery on you, and then we will come back for our last one, because this last one, there is a whole multitude of areas within this one. Right, so the last one. Hi Shannon sweetheart, I've been so looking forward to this topic. As I've mentioned before, I have mainly worked in male-dominated workplaces most of my life. I've just been drawn to those industries naturally. Although I'm a girly girl, I like boys' toys too. See, that's the thing. I think sometimes people have this perception as well, if a woman works in a male-dominated industry, that we're a particular way. And it's like, well, no, I can chuck my Doc Martens on and go to work and that, but then I can still put on a dress and pair of heels and maybe look feminine. I might not look feminine in my day-to-day uniform, but maybe when I go out, I might scrub up a little bit well. I think there is that big conception of women in certain industries, we're going to look a certain way and be a certain way or sound a certain way. And yeah, we shouldn't stereotype, absolutely not. When I was in the Home Office, I was the manager of the building services contract, and I managed all of the contractors, roughly 50 men. At first they were sceptical, as I was 23, long red hair, size 10 with an ample chest, and to be honest I did look a bit of a dolly bird, but boy were they wrong. Within the first few months I had gained their respect, as I was no pushover. Actually, it was the females in my department that gave me the most trouble. So that for me, as I say, you say, I love it, like, I look a bit like a dolly bird, but boy was they wrong. They do have that perception, I think. If, say, an attractive lady goes into a certain industry, they're like, might look at it a bit of eye candy, or she's going to be a walkover. You have to put them in their place. You have to put them in their place. And then I feel the women's side of that, you're getting agged because they might feel their noses out of joint. If women within a certain company, group, or whatever feel like they're like the main ones, or, oh, well, she's the prettiest, or she's the smartest, or anything like that, and then someone new comes in, women's noses will be put out of joint. And that's not just even in work, that's just in life. I could be walking down the street feeling nice and see someone absolutely stunning, and I'll be like, why can't I look like that? And it will automatically put you back up, or it will automatically dampen your day. I think we just do that as women. I think at the moment it's just like, that is what we do. That's how, I don't know, that's how we deal with ourselves basically. Because it's just like, oh, well, okay then, whatever. But I like that. I've also worked in the Metropolitan Police, CID. But I had to leave, okay, as I was disgusted with their attitudes towards women officers. Now that shocked, well, I say it shocks me. Unfortunately with our police force, nothing really savagely shocks me anymore. That's bad to say, isn't it? That your own police force don't shock you. I have read a lot of stuff within police force with women. The offences that they arrest people for sometimes are closer to home within the police, and they kind of turn a blind eye. I don't agree when... So I understand like the equality, men and women equal. I think in certain situations, especially with the police, because situations can escalate, and we've seen it very publicly lately, from nothing to something with 0.2 seconds. So I would feel, as a woman, if I was a police officer, I would always like my partner to be a male, just so that you do have, say, strength, for example. If I, being me, I don't have too much strength. If I had to apprehend someone and I couldn't, I would like to know that like my partner or like my backup there is there to help me, and vice versa. If they needed like little hands to assist and get into the handcuffs, I think it should always be like a male and a female partnership on the police force, because I just think you can never be too sure at the moment with what's going on in the world. I saw a video on TikTok of two women on patrol. They got a call to a house disturbance. When they got there, they could hear shouting and everything like that. They just thought it was a domestic violence case. Went upstairs and they had a guy running at them with a butcher's knife, basically. And they was absolutely in panic, as any normal person would be. And they was trying to get their taser, and they was trying to radio through and shout. One of them was attacked. They're trying to radio for backup. The backup you can hear, we're 2 minutes away. And they're literally trying to fend off this guy. And I thought, number one, you're not paid enough, darling, to be putting your life on the line like that. And I think the taser was not doing anything. I don't know if this guy was off his head on something, but it was like a taser for me. Oh my goodness, I'd be out cold. This was not, if anything, this was giving him more adrenaline, and he was charging at him more. And I just think if you had have had a guy there, they could have maybe, I don't know, rugby tackle or like put him against the wall or something. But they was actually two really young officers, and I just thought that is not fair. Like, they shouldn't be in those situations. That shouldn't be put on them. And maybe people are going to disagree with my opinion, but I do think it should be a male and a female, just to like combat and help, because you never know. They thought they was just going into a disturbance case, and then all of a sudden it turns into a stabbing. And I think you can never be prepared, unfortunately, for what's happening in the world at the minute. It's absolutely ludicrous. Lastly, the best job I've ever had is my last one, as first a funeral director and then an embalmer. Very male dominated in the past, but more and more females are becoming embalmers. So go for it, Shannon, if you want a change of direction. Good luck, and show the boys how it's done. P.S. My niece has just heard she's got an interview for a job for a very large construction company, and she asked me to thank you for your advice. No worries, my darling. I hope the interview all went well. But if you know me, my dream job is an embalmer. I done work experience at my local Western Co, and I was in the embalming, I was in the morgue. I loved it. That for me, it helps with my death anxiety. I love biology and science. That is my true thing. I would have loved to have done that when I left school. Mum didn't want to send me away to Scotland for 5 years. Hefty tuition fees. And it was just something I was like, oh, shoulda, woulda, coulda. If I win a little bit on that money, on the old lottery, who knows. But yes, I love that. And I've actually thoroughly enjoyed this. Guys, if you did enjoy the video, you know what to do. Hit that thumbs up and subscribe down below. And as I say, leave me a comment. Have you ever worked in a male-dominated industry, or how's your work-life balance? If you want to get involved in them, head over to my Instagram or my emails down below. I will always keep you updated on there when we're going to do these videos. But I don't want to ribbit rabbit because I feel like there's going to be a lot of content coming out for you guys, and you're probably going to get very sick of me. So yes, take care, stay safe as always, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.